Hello everybody, and welcome to my day 8 of the meditation and movement 30-day challenge. I am still a little immobile today, but my mind has been racing like crazy, and so I'd like to share a few tips of what's been keeping me grounded, or basically like my blueprint that I've been running on lately. So I'm going to start with my 10 rules that I kind of came up with an inspiration. A lot of other stuff that I went into to get to these rules. But I'll start with number 1, which is align with truth and God. The principle behind it is seek what is real, honest, and consistent with God, source, love, creation. What this looks like, the actionable quality, is to test feelings, experiences, and intuition against growth, clarity, and love. So my little hint for that is to remember synchronicities, gut feelings, energy tools, information gathering are used as signals, not final authority. A final authority, if you think about God or creation, that would be the final authority. That would be something that we can tap into, that we are part of, but that we don't control fully. Take full responsibility is rule number 2. Principle: your choices and actions are yours. Life circumstances aren't excuses. Actionable: before acting, ask, does this reflect my best self? Hint: your responses matter even if you can't if you can't stop all the chaos. And so I put train analogy for that. Basically, I think there was an episode of it on maybe Wizards of Waverly Place, or I don't know, a couple of shows that it was talking about it. The Good Place talked about it, where basically if you're on a train and you're heading forward and there's a little fork in the road in front of you and there's 2 paths that you can choose, and the train's brakes aren't working, so you can't stop. And on one path there's someone that you love, a loved one, let's say maybe a grandparent, a parent, a child, just one person. And then on the other track there's 5 strangers that you've never met before. It's 5 lives versus 1. There's a lot of morality between that decision. So that's where it kind of comes in, saying that your responses matter even if you can't stop all the chaos. And it's not always necessarily an easy answer to say what is correct and what is not. Rule number 3 is practice love with boundaries. Boundaries. Big word for us guys. I am not excellent at boundaries at all. I was not excellent at boundaries at all, but that's something that I have been working and integrating a lot within myself. Principle: love drives growth, truth, and connection, even if it includes challenge or discomfort. Treat others with care, offer guidance when aligned, but protect yourself from harm. Love can be involving hardship, discipline, sacrifice, but is never cruelty or unnecessary harm. And that's a tough concept to grasp as well, because sometimes we do end up hurting people that we love, or get hurt by people that love us unintentionally or unthoughtfully. Sometimes intentionally. There are people out there for sure, but a healthy love doesn't require that kind of pain, doesn't require that kind of hurt. And it helps you actually go through those kind of things. If you have loved ones behind you, usually you can be a little bit more confident, a little bit more sure, ready to face different things. Rule number 4, choose what you integrate. Principle: thoughts, feelings, experience, and external energies are visitors. Pick what serves growth and truth. Actionable: what you can really do today about it. Reflect daily on what to carry forward. Let go of negativity, harm, or dependency. So the hint for this one was crystals, meditation, astrology, angels, ancients. What did I write there? Oh, rituals. used as tools, not masters. So intention with energy, currency. The forces that you choose to put your energy towards, the things that you choose to listen to, the signs, the signals, the patterns that you're recognizing, all of those things are important, but not necessarily all of them are equal or all of them deserve your energy. So we have to be very careful, very discerning of what kind of stuff that we choose to give that energy. Rule number 5 is to live with awareness, which I associate a lot with balance and unity. The principle is to pay attention to your inner world and the external world and notice patterns. An actionable way to actually follow through with this in your daily life is to pause when challenged. Ask, does this strengthen or drain me? Does this align with truth or fear? It says synchronicities, my hints, synchronicities, spiritual signals, or past experiences can guide, but don't blindly follow. A good, strong foundation, ideas, beliefs, they always withstand the test of time. They can withstand a challenge, they can withstand question, they can withstand opposition. If they're truly good at their core and you truly understand it and you truly feel like it, that's what you stand for, then you should be no problem for you to be able to stand up against those kind of questions. And that's in everything that you do. If you're really good at a certain task, or if you like certain kind of peoples, or you have certain religious beliefs, or your sports team is the best sports team, if you can defend that, then that's a good stance for you to have. You know, it's a solid place for you to be grounded in, and that's something that we should all be striving to do. Rule number 6, seek growth daily. Principle, life is participatory. We must participate in it. Challenges are opportunities to develop wisdom, courage, and clarity. So how we can implement that daily is to reflect each night. Where did I act aligned, and where could I improve? So the hint for this one was new experiences may feel uncomfortable, but are fertile for growth. So fertile for growth means it's land for you to grow from. It's a good fertile soil that if you plant your seeds, it will grow fast. It's like if you go to a new school, or if you move to a new place, or if you start at a new company, or you get into a new relationship or get out of an old relationship, all of those are big steps, big changes, big challenges, but they're all room for a lot of change and growth. Rule number 7, impact others positively. Principle, words, actions, and energy leave footprints. Be conscious of the legacy you build. Focus on helping, uplifting, and inspiring when possible, while respecting free will. Even small gestures count: kindness, truthfulness, mentorship, encouragement. You know, they always say the saying, leave a place better than you found it. When you go to someone's home, or if you go out to like a park or somewhere, a campground, you're supposed to leave a place better than you found it. And that's why smiles are so contagious. You know, if you go and you interact with 12 people in the day, if you try to do one positive thing for one of those people that day, then that's one small impact that you made. And the whole footprint idea behind that one is basically like, in this world, there are very few things that we really have control over. Most everything has been given to us already, whether it's our name, whether it's our history, whether it's a lot of our initial startup circumstances that kind of put us in certain positions in life. All that's given to us. The main thing that we have control over would be what words that we have, what we speak out, and what actions that we take, and how we make people feel. So those are the most important. That would be the legacy that you leave behind. That would be the footprint that you leave behind. Rule number 8, honor the infinite. Principle, recognize God's source as infinite, containing all possibility. and that the life may have multiple layers beyond comprehension. Actionability. Stay humble, curious, and open-minded. Consider multiple perspectives and cultural insights. So for the hint, I put think of angels, deities, ancestors, spirits, energy work, and natural laws as God's infinite creativity. So all these different circumstances, all these different things that could be happening, all these different ancestors, like these different myths. If you look all over the world, there's all different ones, but ultimately they all work as part of God's plan that we interact with our free will. Rule number 9, remember the big picture. The principle, you are part of something greater. Your experience matters, but it's one thread in a vast tapestry. Actionable, keep perspective in tough moments. Suffering, setbacks, and others' choices are part of a larger learning experience. Your free will, discernment, and alignment determine your impact within God's unfolding plan. The bigger picture. Remember that it's not all just on our shoulders. We don't have to carry the whole world on just our shoulders. We can put that down and let others carry it as well, and let God carry it and guide us through this world, and just experience it a little while still being responsible for your actions and your contributions. And then number 10, the last rule, return and reconnect, which kind of to me was about like the end after death, what happens in the very end. So the principle, all energy and consciousness eventually return to God's source, transformed or reintegrated. Actionable, live in awareness of cycles, birth, growth, action, rest, transformation. The hint, life is participatory, and every choice contributes to the flow back to Source God. So energy is neither created nor destroyed. Energy is both potential and work. It's a lot of duality that's within our existence in general, everything. There's a lot of things that have a dualized nature to it. And so this return and reconnect ideas, like our little spirit, our energy, which they have actually measured out, when you die, you actually lose a certain number of ounces immediately off of your body, which I believe is them weighing a little physical bit of your spirit that everybody has, which is crazy to think about. But that little spirit piece, that piece still exists within this energy realm. It connects back with God, whether it's transmuted, whether it's just included into a new form, whether it's brought back to God in a sense of like heaven maybe, or of bliss, of peace, of understanding. It's all different experiences that God has gone through and that He has shaped through each and individual one of us. And then I have an optional daily reflection list to kind of condense them all down if you wanted to do that as well. That's what I'm going to be working on doing, because it's a lot of what I do anyways, but I spend a lot of time to kind of put it all out in a direct format, in an easy checklist kind of way. So the daily reflection, you could do it like every night after, right before you go to bed, or when you're in the shower. That's where I do some of my best thinking, is in the shower. Number 1, did I act with truth? Number 2, did I carry responsibility for my choices? Number 3, did I act with love and boundaries? Number 4, did I integrate what strengthens me and release what drains me? Number 5, did I notice patterns, guidance, or lessons? Number 6, did I seek growth? And number 7, did I positively impact others? If we can do those every day, that's the direction I'm looking for. That's the focus that I'm looking for, is to work on those things every day. And something that I kind of scripted out to pray to God for, to pray in my intention to set that direction, goes like this. God, guide my thoughts, my actions, and my impact today. Help me act with truth, strength, and love. Because it's short and easy, and it's, I mean, like I told you guys before, I usually only ask for strength, love, guidance, and protection every time, guaranteed, on top of gratitude. The whole list of gratitude, you know, I start with my mind, body, and spirit, and then I go over all the stuff in my environment, always having food, just a lot of the basic things that are just important to always be grateful for as well. And then whenever you have extra, then it's more to be grateful for. Some ideas or thoughts to have throughout the day to ensure that I'm being aligned. Am I reacting or choosing? Which are two very different paths to go. If I'm reacting, then usually I'm not putting a lot of thought or intention to that. I'm just kind of rolling with what the circumstances are that's going on. It's usually oftentimes in a state of extreme stress or extreme happiness. That might be more of the reaction level, versus if I'm choosing, that's using my intention, that's using my focus, that's using my thoughts and all the data that I've collected on it so far, and then making an intentional choice. Is this leading me towards truth or avoidance? Which again is two big topics, and I'm going to touch on it again a few more places, this truth idea, because I had to work through a lot about that. My belief is that there is actual solid truth out there, not just my truth or your truth or someone's truth. There's actual real truth out there, and then there's understandings or reflections or lenses that we look through. That's our consciousness, that's our soul that we look through, that we can maybe have different experiences behind it, but there is still solid, provable truth out there. Will this action leave a clean footprint behind me? That legacy that we are talking about. Our actions and words are what we really have, like I said. Now, in this, we're not really looking for perfection, we're looking for awareness. That's what we're called to do here on this earth. We know we're not perfect. Everyone knows that us humans are not perfect, so we're just meant to be aware and experience and try to grow as we go. Before speaking, consider, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it harmful or constructive? Because that ties directly into how you treat people. You want to reduce unnecessary harm, add something positive where you can, and don't fake kindness, but don't feed negativity either. And that is all kind of balanced on the line of who these people to give this energy to, who these people to help. And you have to trust your intuition a lot with that, your gut feelings, your thoughts, your pattern recognition through the experiences that you've had in the past. So when things do feel off, they feel chaotic, heavy, confusing, we gotta pause. That's information. That's the information that our nervous system is telling us, information that's being passed to us through spirit, through God. That's information that we need to assess. And something to consider with that is to ask if it's strengthening or draining me, and does it align with truth or emotion? Because emotion can be strong and confusing and powerful, especially for some of us ladies out here. Not saying that men don't have emotions, because they most definitely do. Most definitely, and they deserve it. We're all human, we all have emotions. But I digress. I have another quote that I wrote. I don't control everything, but I am responsible for how I move through it. I seek alignment with truth, love, growth, and I try to leave a positive impact where I can. I can't control everything, but I am responsible for how I move through it. I seek alignment with truth, love, growth, and I try to leave a positive impact where I can. Because again, we're not perfect. We don't have to have all the answers. None of us are expected to have all the answers. That's why people have debated for them for centuries and centuries, because none of us have all the answers. Walk your path well, not to perfection. Names fade, beliefs evolve. Footprint is in is forever. That's how you made people feel, how you showed up, and what you stood for. Reality is layered. Souls are at different stages. So that's kind of where, the ending concept that I feel at this time is. All of this isn't exact science. I didn't read a specific philosophy. It's just been what I've been living through lately and how I get through my days, through my dark times. This is what my plan, or what my intention or my purpose is, I think, moving forward. The blueprint that I'm running my life on moving forward. I definitely don't have all the answers. If you guys have better suggestions or different wording, or suggest anything opposition to it, I'm definitely open to it. I love this kind of conversations. Choice in this life matter. Outcomes may not be one size fits all. Most everything isn't even one size fits all. Even the one size fits all for us bigger people, ladies, it's not actually one size fits all most of the time. Most of things in life are not. Then I came down here and I said, some number rough draft of my belief systems, because this is when I kind of went down to all of the different sections of what was going on in my head. And then I kind of put a little definition or some brief bullet points underneath what each one of those means to me. So, God, infinite source and foundation of reality. Fully aware, creative, and loving. Engages with reality through its unfolding. Reality. What is reality? Truck. Reality is dynamic, interactive, and partially shaped through experience. It contains both structure and freedom. Not everyone within it reflects perfect alignment. It includes both order and disorder, like the dragon chasing the tail, the ethos and the logos, the yin and the yang. So reality is more than we can understand, more than we can define through sciences and physics and the logical mind, but that doesn't mean that more doesn't exist, The human role, participation in creation, not controller of it. It's a dance with creation. It's a dance with life. It's something that you're meant to give and take. We're not in full control of it. Can you imagine how stressful that would be? To be in full control of all reality and the reactions of people around you and all these different hardships that come in, if you just really felt like all of those were really meant to be like attacks on you personally. That would be so stressful. Responsible for choices and integration, and shapes experience through perspective and action. That's what footprint we leave. That's what our experience is. That's what our lens is that we look through. Experience through perspective and action. Love is the next main category. It is the core direction of alignment. It includes growth, truth, and sometimes hardship, not equivalent to harm, but can exist alongside challenge. Consciousness, that's another big topic that a lot of people talk about, and I will read those ones to you, and then I have something to share about that. Consciousness receives thoughts, feelings, and experiences. It chooses what to integrate and act on. Acts as the interface between self and God. Now, this consciousness is a lot of people have discussed that. Elon said that was like his primary mission for bringing us out to Mars, right? Was to expand the possibility of consciousness surviving in the event of a world-ending event, like a meteor or something crazy, right? And then also I saw this video the other day that this content creator, it was a guy, he brought up an interesting point, and he said if you plug your nose and cover your mouth and you don't breathe this air that we have around us for a long time, we don't necessarily die. We just lose consciousness. So maybe the air that's around us is part of the consciousness that reacts through us, which I haven't fully decided how I feel about that, but it's most definitely an interesting concept. There is a super loud truck coming. Hold on, I'm gonna pause the video. Alright, sorry, they were super loud. The next one I have written down is purpose, which, you know, yesterday I shared that I had a fear of not really having purpose, and I feel like a lot of us have that feeling of not sure what our purpose is, or if there is even a purpose to be had directly, or if we have many purposes, or if our purpose is chosen or given to us. I think it's a combination of a lot of those things, but purpose is experience is part of existence. Both growth, alignment, and impact still matter. Life is not random, it's participatory. So the purpose is for us to just live life, to experience it, to make the best choices that we can and the best impact that we can. That's really our job. We don't have to understand all of it. We just got to try and get through it one day at a time, one step at a time. And then end state. Again, this is me telling you guys what my thoughts are about what happens at, after death, at the end. All things ultimately return, transform, or reconnect with Source God creation. Nothing is entirely outside the system. It's all contained in one giant energy field, I would say. One giant realm, and all of it is contained within God. It's under God's authority. Then I played with the idea of, if you are God's source creation, and you have infinite knowledge, infinite time, infinite possibility, then forming all these different creations and interactions and hardships and things would be kind of like a divine play of sorts. But keeping that kind of in a grounded way so that there's still purpose for each one of us. Each one of us has our own authentic abilities and visions and choices, our free will. So there is an element of divine unfolding, but our choices still carry real moral weight. That gives us a sense of responsibility, a sense of accountability, a sense of reason for why we choose not to rob the bank next door because we don't feel like working, or cause harm and destruction for no good reason out there, Truth exists, and I need to navigate it responsibly. Truth is something you refine over time. There is an absolute truth, and also like a personal truth or testimony. It requires balance and intention. Truth is a hard line to balance on. As long as you are not lying, as long as you're trying your best to be truthful. And the paraphrased words of Jordan Peterson, if you want to live the best adventure in this life, you got to live by the truth, or at least don't lie. And I feel like that's the best way to go. You don't have to think about remembering things. You don't have to worry about fabricating anything or hurting anyone's feelings, because the truth is the truth is the truth, The next one would be my relationship with God. It begins internally through awareness, alignment, and reflection. It grows through choice, actions, and truth-seeking. It's not based only on feelings, but tested through lived experience. And it's beyond human comprehension. This love that we get from them, this existence, this knowing, this seeing that they have, this plan, these opportunities, all these different big picture threads weaving together to come down to this day, to this person, to this hour, to this lesson. And it's pretty incredible to think about, and it's even more than we can even understand. But it does start from inside, and I have seen a couple more scripture readings from that, talking about how the man leads from his heart and thinks from his heart, then it will be. And God making promises that those who seek will find, those who ask will receive. And those are promises that all can only be fulfilled if you start from in here. Not everything reflects God's nature equally. Where that comes from, I was wrestling with the idea of demons, the idea of where demons came from. I've heard a few different stories about it. I've heard that they're, fallen angels and that they chose to turn away from God. I've heard that they are the fallen angels' offspring with the humans that were not human, that were the Nephilim that were wiped away. And then I've heard other stories of the Nephilim being around still, and I've heard of other deities through other religions, other gods and underworlds and all these different deities that could be. And it's brought to my attention that not all of those have your best intention at heart. And then I was kind of like, well, not all the people that you meet have your best intention at heart either. So what is different with interacting or having curiosity for or trying to have an understanding for some of these different deities or entities versus humans, which, I mean, it's a different realm. There's different rules potentially, but it's just not that all of it reflects God. And the other half of that, with these being possible there, I was thinking, if they were part of God's creation initially, it's, everything here is part of God's creation. If they were part of God's creation initially, then why wouldn't he be merciful towards that as well, towards that evil, that harm? If everyone is God's children, then why wouldn't you want to, hold on one second, here's the loud truck again. Why wouldn't he have the forgiveness for them as well if they chose that? And the pushback that I was getting was like, well, they've already made that choice versus the humans having that choice now in their lifetime. That's them living out their choice. And all of that is an interesting thing to get into for sure. And I don't know if I would say that everything is exactly equally God, even though everything is made of energy and it is all part of God, but it doesn't reflect his nature. That's why I used that terminology, because it doesn't reflect that nature, that vibration, that message, that moral, that purpose. All these harmful things that people do, people who come in and kill or steal or do really just savage things for no intention or thought towards the person that they're doing it towards, that harm. Not only are they drawing that back to themselves, but it does affect that person, and it's not something that I would say is of God's nature. So that was a really big cycle that I went down through, that a big path. God created beings capable of real choice, and those choices create real variation in experience. So that would be, God created us humans being capable of real choice, our free will, and these choices create real variation in experience. That kind of creates the reality that we live in, that we interact with. That helps to unfold God's plan one way or the other. Having a relationship with God is a choice that starts within. It's extra important, so I wrote it again. It's because it just is. Alignment. What does alignment mean, and what does it feel like? Everyone's been talking about alignment. If you're aligned with what you want to bring to you, what does that even look like? It feels like meaningful direction, not just comfort. We don't want to just sit in the good. We don't want to only focus on the good stuff that's coming. We also want to focus on integrating the not so good parts, because again, everything has a bit of a duality. We have a good and a bad, a shadow and a light parts of us, And if you just live life ignoring the dark parts, eventually it's going to be like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of situation where they're just going to come out. They're going to come out one way or another. Everything that's done in the dark comes to the light. So it's important to have those inside of you as well. I wrote, side effects can include, like a medication, side effects can include fear, challenge, and uncertainty and stretching. It leads to growth, not dependency. So if you're living only in a place of comfort and you're ignoring all of those feelings, all the feelings of fear and challenge and uncertainty, then you're not really living honestly. Not living by the truth. Spiritual boundaries. No engagement with harmful or destructive forces. No surrender of personal responsibility And curiosity is allowed, but not blind following, not blind belief. You can't just trust everything and everyone. That's why we have this discernment. That's why we have this intuition. That's why we have the experiences that we've lived in before, so that we are prepared, so that we are guided to make the correct choices in so much as they are defined as correct. Your perspective is your lens, not the truth itself. We don't know it all. We can't pretend to know it all. But we can try our best with what information that we have available, what thoughts that we have and feelings that we have, and with the intentions that we give. God allowed partial truths to appear across cultures, with overlapping themes such as a higher creator, moral laws, spiritual beings, and consequences for actions. I think of it kind of like a giant Easter egg hunt. Like in Christian culture, you can go to the Bible Museum and see 3,000 years worth of history on that text, but there's also text in Islam and Hindu, and there's ancient history lessons in certain native tribes that are different than other native tribes, like in Alaska, or in the Dakotas, or in the Rocky Mountains, or in Australia, or in Africa, or in China. There's just a lot of different places where a lot of these different histories can be. And just because it contains truth, it doesn't necessarily equal truth in authority. So think of it like different maps of the same terrain. So one map might be really clear, one map might be a little more symbolic, and one might be distorted. There could have been people playing the game of telephone, whether it was intentional or not, that could have changed up some words here and there and changed up some meanings. We just got to use our best discernment and try to figure out what to take in from these different things. Many things may exist, but I choose carefully what I align with and listen to. And that's something that has come through with other messages about being careful about the content that I choose to consume. I used to watch a lot of horror movies and a lot of body cam videos because I find it interesting and funny and creative, the way that it's played out. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And but I don't want to give my energy to that. I feel like that's distractive energy. I would rather give my energy out to what I would like to bring forward into my life. Many beings under one ultimate source God, spirit teams, ancestors, angels, demons, as expressions of God. So that's where, I'm thinking, all these different sub-gods, all these different possible teammates that maybe were assigned to help watch after you and watch after a couple other people, to help, like angels. I learned a little bit about Archangel Michael, which was interesting. Archangel Michael was mentioned in the Bible a couple times as like the number one strongest defender of like the army, like the main general runner of the army, not God, but one of God's right-hand men, the strong ones that are there to be the first to defend heaven and to defend us. He's sent to be a protector for us, which again, I'm bouncing around with my solid feelings on that, but I don't see why it wouldn't be, one extra layer of possibility that God has, one extra, like a company, a big CEO, they have a few different departments, and then they have a few different heads of those departments that have people underneath them, and then customers, and it's kind of like a big hierarchy, So I just can't imagine that one group of people has it more 100% correct than others. I mean, everyone, I feel like it's little bits and pieces of it all over the place that we got to put together ourselves, our understanding of it. I am not in charge of the whole ocean. I can steer my boat. That's me being responsible for my boat, what I put in my boat, what kind of boat I have, what kind of decorations I got on my boat, what I leave outside of my boat, what I let into my boat, how many people I let into my boat. All of those are within my control, but the entire ocean, with all of its unknown and all of its storms and all of its peace, all of the above, is not within my control. growth equals increasing alignment with truth and love, because ultimately that's what we can live in, that's what we feel good in, that's what our purpose should be, is truth and love between each other. That's what, if God says to look at each other like God's children, how do you look at your children? Or would you look at your children if you had them? You would look at them in love, and you would want to tell them the truth, even though the world is scary, because that would be the best armor for them to get by. It would give them the best chances of the best life. What you entertain, pursue, or align with does shape your direction. So your energies, your intentions, your attitude, your feelings, all of that does directly affect your reality. If you do like a job interview or something, you know, if you go in there and you're feeling good and you're dressing good and you're smelling good and you actually like this job possibility and you like different aspects of it, like, you're going to be so much happier, and you're going to be so much more present and more positive, and they're going to make a much bigger impact on them than if you're not feeling good, if you're not in a good vibration, if you're feeling sad, or if you're feeling nervous, or you're desperate and you just need this because it's money and it's not something that you actually want to do. Your interaction is not going to be on the same frequency. It's not going to be as impactful. You're not going to have as good of chances. So this different kind of way that you move will pull different kind of frequencies towards your little radio antenna. Stay open enough to learn, but grounded enough to say this is right and this is not. This bounces in that realm of truth is truth, you know, and using discernment to really hear what is good and what is not. Beliefs can evolve without breaking. Good ideas can withstand scrutiny. A structured, morally grounded, spiritually open framework centered on God source, personal responsibility, and conscious alignment. That's what I would say kind of sums up all of that I just shared with you guys. And I'm pulling a lot of that from a lot of research that I've been doing from a lot of different areas. The panentheism, which is like multiple gods, the discussion or the idea of multiple gods, mystical Christianity, philosophical realism, a bit of intuitive spirituality, lived experience, the law of attraction, the one theory. There's others that I had looked into as well, a lot of like Norse mythology or ancient history here in the US, or spiritual history. Because it's been kind of a theme for me, being that's my direct ancestry line, and that I'd like to know a little bit more about those kind of histories, which I don't think I shared with you guys, but I did learn that the Vikings, the Nordic people from Sweden and Norway, made it down here to the US before Columbus did, and that there was some questionable evidences of how far it went in, but it was confirmed that they were here first beforehand. So that was before the takeover of the Christian beliefs, and a lot of the same principles, a lot of the same morals were already there. That's where those little Easter eggs of truth that God sprinkled through everyone, maybe even back during the Babylon times. I haven't read the full timeline of the Bible yet, but maybe that's when he spread everyone's language out, when he spread all the people out across the earth. Maybe he spread out bits and pieces of the truth to kind of challenge everyone to get to know each other one again, to take it more seriously and to come to a union of some kind, while still relying on him to get there. And then I have a few questions that I would like to leave you guys with. Do you think it's possible to believe God is both within everything and beyond everything without losing moral clarity or responsibility? How do you distinguish between meaningful internal guidance and self-deception? Because sometimes what sounds good and what feels good may not always be good for us. So that's a really important, strong discernment statement that is important for us each to navigate on our own. What does it actually look like day to day to live in alignment with truth rather than just believing in it? living life in this big adventure of truth, what does that really look like to you every single day? And do you think different religions, cultures, peoples are pointing out the same truth from different angles, or the same or are some fundamentally more accurate than others? More accurate, do you feel like some have more truth and some don't? Or some completely complete dishonesty? You feel like, where do you stand on that scale? What are your thoughts on it? I would love to know. And I have laid out a lot of this just because in my days of stillness, and especially in today's day of stillness, I really had to sit down. When now I've kind of gone through some things that I don't like about me or do like about me, learning how to accept those things with the shadow work, and now kind of really questioning or pinning down my real belief on what God is and what our purpose is. And it was a lot to think about, and it is a little intimidating to share it with everybody, but I hope it sticks with you. I hope I engage some thought, even if you don't agree. You know, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to interact with you guys on it, and I am most definitely opening to changing or altering as appropriate. It can be altered without being broken. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see where this takes me, and I will see you guys again tomorrow on tomorrow's day of challenge. I don't know what I'm gonna do. My poor ankle still hurts for now, but we'll see. We'll see what I'm still taking that time to at least here stick to this challenge, and I implore you guys all to do the same. I send you much love and blessings and appreciation. And today I actually participated. One more last thought, sorry. I know this is a long video compared to the other ones, but today I actually participated in another challenge that I had seen on Facebook. A person that I never met on my feed said that they were doing a challenge today for 4 p.m., 6 p.m. Central Time, and I did end up participating. I went onto the live stream and I just listened, and he hosted a prayer with thousands of people. There was like 5,000 people that were present there, and we just prayed for the state of the world and for all this hurt and fear and sadness, for God to step in, for Jesus to step in and be strength for these people. And it was pretty happy experience. You know, I didn't stay for the whole thing because I didn't want to stay for the silent meditation part of it, but I think that something like that ambitious and awesome. So I felt like sharing that with you guys as well, and I hope you have a great day. Love you all. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.